funny thing about the ego, how deeply it is in relationships. And that's why I got interested in what happened in the 60s, when a certain thing culminated that was kind of bubbling around in the history of the culture, which was the undivided loyalty to individualism. After fascism and communism, we got into individualism. Newism. What's in it for me? Am I growing? Who am I? What do I need? What do I want? What do I desire? Almost a worship of our somebodiness. I have a right to be somebody. And that came out of years of feeling you didn't. Of carrying around the feeling I'm powerless and something I'm wrong because I'm not the whole universe like I used to be, which you experienced as a baby. It must be incredibly painful. The moment not just of physical birth, but of psychological birth, of the experience of separateness as an entity when you have been the whole thing. I've described in many lectures the experience that suddenly I was back in a crib in my room at home, and I was screaming, and my mother was holding me down, just had her hand on my chest. And the look was a look of, I don't know what the look was. That would be projecting. All it was the experience of loss of power. I was having a temper tantrum, obviously, of some sort. And she was just being a good mother. She wasn't giving way to it. She wasn't reinforcing temper tantrums, which you didn't do in those days. Later you did. And look what happened. But she didn't, and she wasn't out of a, like, I'm a mean mother. She was just calming me down, but it was firm. And the firmness had a resistance to my power. I couldn't control the situation. And the experience was one of loss of power. And when I look at business, and I look at government, and I look into the personalities of all of the politicians, don't you see all that fear, and don't you see all that sense of not being powerful enough? And if I had the power, it would all be all right. We are caught in a drama so thick of ego structures, ego constructs that have come out of our intellectual extrapolations from our basic, rude conceptual models of who am I and how the world works, which has to do with fear, it has to do with feelings of pain of separateness, it has to do with power, it has to do with a yearning to come back to a certain feeling at home in the universe. At home, at one. And I think most of what we live with in politics, in business, in most of our professions, most of our lifestyles, deeply, deeply, deeply emerged in these particular conceptual plane of reality that everybody conspires to see as real. With aging, it's absolutely amazing how this society conspires to define what aging is and then sucks everybody into believing it's true, and then they live it out. And it's a hype. It is a complete hype. It's a creation of mind. So that if you look at aging in almost all the literature, it is seen as a problem. That's the first one. Isn't that bizarre? You know, it's like the leaves turn red in the fall and you say, we got a problem. Let's get out there with a green can and paint them all green. What the hell? We can't have these leaves turning red. What's that about? I mean, it's so absolutely bizarre. The first thing you have to realize is you're in prison. You've been had. You bought into a conceptual model that you got trained into from birth to deal with your separateness. And it's a whole structure that you've invested with reality. And from your point of view, it's the only reality most of the time. When my father would say, Richard, come back to reality, that's the one he meant. Now, we're where are all the other planes of reality when we're so busy investing in this one rather uninteresting plane? It's not uninteresting, it's actually passionately beautiful, but it's also uninteresting. If it's your only one, it's like not having cable.
Good morning.
But the minute you realize you are in prison, that's the relative reality perception. You realize you got a problem. You realize there's more than one channel. You realize there's another place from which to look. However you want to say it, you understand the theory of relativity. You understand that everything is real depending on where you're looking at it from. Just like you dreamt last night, and in that dream, that stuff was real. And you woke up, and then you said, I woke up. Into what? I mean, you ultimately must realize you just woke up into another one of them. And once I had realized that I was in prison, which is what my first mushroom trip absolutely ascertained for me with certainty, or as certain as relative reality can get. I looked back at all the years in which I had taken it all so, quote, seriously. And I thought, did I go 30 years without a clue that I was caught in some weird group psychosis?
Morning.